And good afternoon. Glad you're along. Well, do you like your job? Did you quit your job? Did you go back to your job? Well, regardless of whether you work in a union shop or a non-union shop, bosses everywhere are waking up to what's going on around them. Workers are burnt out. They're pushing back. Staffing shortages are forcing a lot of employees to burn the candle at both ends. What do great bosses do to keep employees motivated? As I said before, you know, if you're a great boss, you've probably ferreted this information out yourself. If you're a jerk for a boss, you probably don't care. But Joel Patterson is a workplace expert. He heads up the Vested Group. That's a firm that is always on, well, the best places to work list. Mr. Patterson, how are you?
I am doing well, Rick. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Doing all right. I'm hearing people are leaving. It's the quiet quitting. Then they're going back. What's going on?
Well, it's a little bit of everything, but it's also exactly the same thing that's been going on for the last couple of years. You mentioned it already. I mean, if you're a good boss, you've probably spent time figuring out how to engage with your employees, how to make sure that they feel like they have everything that they need, all the tools that they need. But if you're a bad boss, then I'll bet you that you've lost a lot of people and you're wondering why. And the reality is, I mean, just like what happened with the railway this week, there are a lot of people looking for or not looking for work and a lot of job openings. And what it's done is create a lot of leverage for those employees. And what is really, I think what's coming to bear is that it's, you know, sick pay. It's things like, you know, what kind of scheduling they've got. I mean, when was the last time you went to a restaurant where you didn't recognize that, hey, they're a little short staffed and I'm just going to have to be a little bit patient here. I mean, it's everywhere, but through all of this, I think workers are becoming increasingly frustrated and annoyed, and they are lashing out in some ways and creating change.
So are people really quitting their jobs in the numbers that are being published?
You know, numbers are funny. I mean, if you look at what's being stated now, and as far as recession is concerned and what's going on in the economy, a lot of the small and medium businesses that I talk to aren't seeing the same thing. So I feel like it's, you know, you've got to look at what's in front of you and make that determination. But I will say that it's still a very tight market. It's difficult to find people that are, you know, the people that are looking for work right now are probably not the people that you want to hire. That's the reality. So for companies that are looking for quality employees, they're going to be there for the long haul. They have to go out to other companies and recruit them. And that has been a big shift over the last couple of years, because usually you can just, you know, put a sign out, put something on LinkedIn, and you're going to get a lot of people reaching out and saying, hey, I would like to work for you as long as you have something to offer. These days, you got to step up a little bit. You got to really look at the pay. You got to look at what you're doing from a remote workforce. I mean, you know, that's not going away, even though I saw a statistic this morning that said that New York was at 50% of their occupancy pre-COVID. So, I mean, it's increasing, but there's still a lot of people working from home, and you've got to find ways to make yourself valuable to those people in order to want them to work for you.
You know, the U.S. Economy, they say, came within hours of shutting down because of that standoff between unions and railroad carriers over, I guess it was sick pay and scheduling and all that. I never understood why the president got involved with that, but, you know, nobody called me. If it's not on that type of scale, say it's a regional company or a business, and on the off chance that a boss, you know, has been a jerk in the past and, okay, I want to clean up my act and retain these employees, what do great bosses do to keep employees motivated?
You know, I get that question a lot, and it's not that difficult. A lot of times it's just intention. You know, I mean, just making sure that you're spending even just a couple of minutes and walking by or reaching out to them on a Zoom and making sure they're okay. Going back to what I was talking about before, making sure that they are paid equitably, making sure that they have the right motivation to do the job that they want to do. You know, the reality is most people want to work from home at least part of the week. And if you are in a situation where maybe you're a jerk boss and you're not allowing people to work from home, that's a double whammy. I think people have to, or organizations and their managers have to really invest and not just manage people, but coach them. I mean, I was talking to somebody today at lunch about the importance of coaching versus managing and how that is different because you're like trying to get the best out of your people versus just recognizing that, okay, they missed something and so they didn't check that box. You want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to improve their overall situation. And sometimes that means it's not just work. I'm a big believer in a work-life balance isn't really a real thing. It makes one seem good and the other seem bad. And so when you can recognize that, hey, if I have a bad day at home, probably going to have a bad day at work and vice versa, and invest in your people that way and just care about them. I mean, it's silly. It sounds a little bit too simplistic, but the reality is if you just took a few minutes and invested in that person on a real level, you're going to be surprised at the results you get.
Yeah, I guess what everybody is kind of shaking their head at, you and I are having this discussion, and I'll be taking calls in just a little bit, and I'll hear from one business after another business after another business. They can't find anybody to work.
I have the same problem. I'm actually a DFW-based company. We're based in East Plano. We got 70 employees, and we would love to be 100 employees. But the reality is you can't just sit back and expect them to come to you these days, no matter what kind of – I don't care about your ping pong table in the game room, right? It's about the people. It's as simple as that, and it always has been. And if you're able to communicate that effectively to people, you'd be surprised at how many people you can get in. But you're not going to be able to just sit back. I mean, it's frustrating because I hear that same exact thing from business owners all the time, and yet they're just not putting in the work. And sometimes that phone is really heavy, but you need to pick it up and give somebody a call.
Yeah, because we hear about all of these labor shortages. They can't find workers. We're in a labor shortage. We don't know what to do. And I bet I counted half a dozen hiring signs just on my way home last week. I mean, it doesn't add up. You know what I'm saying?
I totally do.
Employees asking.
The thing that I can't get over is how many people. They say that there's now 2.5 million fewer people in the workforce than there were pre-pandemic. Well, where'd those people go? There's the likely candidates are retirement, and some of the immigration issues might play into that. Maybe they're taking care of their parents because they were sick from COVID, or they started a business. But I don't think that really recognizes or justifies a 2.5 million number. That's been a big mystery for me too, because it's not like we're not calling on the same candidates or the same type of experience and industry. They just don't seem to be as many of them out there.
Yeah, it doesn't add up when you look at what's being reported, and then you look at what's on the ground. They don't add up.
Does not add up at all. I'm totally with you. So the best thing that you can do is make sure that you engage in your existing employees, because what I do know is that it's very expensive to replace them. Right. And if you can do the things that you need to in order to keep them engaged, give them some flexibility in their work environment. Whatever makes sense. We tend to talk about the situation as if everybody can work remotely, where we know that manufacturing employees and leisure and hospitality, they can't do that. And so there's ways to invest in them that are outside of that flexible work arrangement, but make sure you're doing it. It's not doesn't have to spend a lot of money. It's really just a matter of finding a little bit of time to make sure that they feel valued.
Listen, I appreciate your time, Joel Patterson, founder of the Vested Group, Workplace Expert.